What's going on, creators? Yeah, I just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Yeah, today I'd like to continue this conversation on mental diets and hopefully add something positive to your mental diet for today. I've got a bunch of stuff to kind of talk about, one of which has to do with revising the story that you're telling yourself if things are going undesirably, and looking at everything as being perfect, which is kind of challenging because like our old slave mind likes to blame everything on everybody else and not take ownership or responsibility. And it's just like one of those things where we can start to change those narratives consciously. We can start to impress our subconscious minds with more desirable kind of states of being. And as we do that, then we can start to see that reflecting in our perception of reality. Not only in our perception, but in a lot of different ways. Then you start experiencing these synchronistic events, serendipities, whatever you want to call it, but like it's a real thing, and it's something that you can do more and more, so see more and more results, but you have to test it for yourself. I mean, you can listen to people out here as much as you want, but it's not until you put it to the test, and you can see it actually working, because it's always working. A lot of times the problem is it's working opposite too. I mean, it works either way, positive or negative. And so if you unconsciously are telling yourself these stories and these mental narratives about how you're a victim, how oh, nothing ever goes right for me, everything's like a pity party or whatever, you get double down on that kind of drama, and more inharmonious kind of things start to manifest in your life. But the moment that you start, even when you look at what's happening in your life here and now, and just assess the situation honestly with yourself. If you're like really in a fucked up position, it's not okay to just continue to lie to yourself. It's like if you got like a serious problem, dysfunction, whatever, it's not about ignoring it and pretending that's not there, but it is about like removing your attention from the problem, accepting it, and then moving in another direction. So a good example is like maybe just like your teeth or something. It's like something simple where it's just like, oh, I haven't been to the dentist in a long time, and I haven't really been taking care of it. I'm afraid to even look. Shit like that. It's like take the time to actually look, stop being a pussy about it, and like, okay, here it is, square one. Look at everything that's going on in your life as a reflection of consciousness. And so, for that example, or maybe money is a better example, because we all got to deal with kind of this flow. And if you don't have money, or you don't have fucking opportunity or whatever, and you just feel like a slave to it. And you can have that on either side of the spectrum. I mean, if you have like zero, that's one thing of scarcity. But then there's also the opposite side of the pendulum, where it's like you could have a lot of it, but then you're just then the fear is, oh, I'm going to lose it all, or something's going to take it from me, or I'm going to become a target, or it's both sides of that same pendulum have that fear response. So it's like really about kind of navigating the here and now without being in hysteria and fear. And so looking at your finances as an example, you can see where it's at, accept where you're at, because it's a reflection of your consciousness. But then in knowing that, there's a big relief that comes with that, where you're just like, okay, well, now I can grow it. Now I can go from this level, this progression, and evolve it and start leveling it up, and you do that by starting to take care of it. It's like a garden. It's like the more that you kind of weed out the bullshit, make sure to water it, make sure to do your part in it, then you're setting the stage for your subconscious, because as you're taking that new action, then your mental stories start to change along with that. It's the easiest way to start to reprogram your subconscious mind is to start taking opposite action. So like for example, maybe like some homeless person or something comes up to you and like asks you for money to buy some food or something. If you're in scarcity with your money because you just don't have a lot of it, it's like, oh, all I got's like $5. It's like I maybe have some like loose change, some quarters or whatever. But even that, in giving that to another person, then it feels like a loss. Like, oh, I'm losing, a percentage of what I have. Whereas you can start to look at everything as being connected and realizing as you give to others, you're actually giving to yourself, and it comes back on you multiplied. So it's not really that big of a deal if you're in an abundance mentality. but you have to accept where you're at. If you're not in an abundance mentality, okay, that's just where you're at, but you can start to grow that, and you start to grow that by taking better care of it, and asking God how to do it, and then also, taking new action. So if your old action was afraid to give like $1 or whatever, even if you have the hypothesis that, oh, if I give, it'll be multiplied and come back. I mean, you have to test that, and so as you test it, you have your old slave mind thinking of like, oh, I just lost $1. This is stupid. This is never going to work. Or why does that person just get a job like I got, and blah blah blah. All that kind of like mental drama. We'll start to let that shit go and go like, everything I give comes back to me multiplied by 10. So it's like I give $1. What is that? $10 back in return. There you go. And start changing the mental stories, which then impresses your subconscious mind as you take that new action. But as you kind of accept where you're at in the current moment as being ideal, and have things are unfolding as being ideal, even if they're not. It's like, well, how can I start being in abundance when I'm in obvious scarcity and no opportunity, and I'm like so far from where I want to be. And so it's like, okay, well, it's the same flow. It's like you start taking new action, but also realize that everything that you have is a reflection of where you're at in consciousness, and you won't experience a change until you change your consciousness. And so you start to do that by realizing that God provides for you, and it's like you are connected with your Creator, and you're all about changing those mental narratives to align to the truth, and how do you find the truth? You start to seek the truth, and that's a really important part of like, moving forward out of the matrix, which is filled with lies and deception, and also inverted upside down clown shit, but like, the more you recognize that for what it is, the more it's easier to kind of use it as contrast, for you moving forward, where it's like, oh, well, that's what the world's saying. So obviously, I don't want to align with the clown world. So, what I'll do, is I'll ask God, I'll go in prayer, ask, believe, receive. And, that's also a real thing, that you can start to put on in consciousness right here and right now, because it's only ever now. So it's like, when are you doing this thing? It's like, well, you're already doing it. So you're either doing it piss poor, or you're doing it, and it's like the journey and the destination, that the future you made it utopia moment or whatever, it's all part of the here and now. And like, I experienced that this week, with like, the guy that was working for me, just like abruptly, we finished doing this bathroom remodel job, and he's like, got done with it, and he's like, told me, hey, I found another job. Which at first it was like kind of like, I would say like shock. Yeah, it's kind of like shocking. I don't, maybe that's the wrong word, but it's just like, oh, really? I didn't realize that you were looking. It was like something wrong or something. It's like, it's just kind of like surprising, and then followed quickly by like a relief. Because it's like at first, and this is something I put into practice. As things happen, realize that there is no accident or coincidence, and it's all part of this flow to evolve consciousness in a more and more loving way, which means less and less suffering, is another way to look at that, and less fear ultimately, where it's like the fear would kick in of like, oh, what am I going to do, blah, 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 how am I going to finish these new jobs, how am I going to do this, how am I invested this much time and energy into this, blah, 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 and it's just like, okay, instead of having those mental narratives of like stress, worst case scenarios, fear, anger, whatever, start telling yourself is like, oh, well, this is perfect. I don't understand how it's perfect yet, but everything that's happening to me is, part of God's plan for more and more heaven on earth. So I'm not going to battle and resist it. I'm going to accept, radically accept what's going on. Not to say that, you can see illusions and accept illusions as like, oh, I'm just going to live in fear and hysteria, but, it's all about your relationship with God, because in that relationship in consciousness, and in the stories you're telling yourself in your mind, that's what gets outpictured, that's what gets externalized in your perception. So it's like the more perfection that you start to look for, the more that you'll see. The more heaven in the situation that you want to start to become aware of, the more that will start to become drawn to your awareness. And instead of the opposite, if you have the same situation, then just reacting out of fear and hysteria and scarcity. It's a way to handle life. You can either handle it in fear and hysteria, constantly reacting to external events, or you can start to do the opposite, which is not stress about it, trust in infinite intelligence's ability to let go of these resistances, because so much of what's happening is that our unconscious scripts and slave mentalities are being externalized too. So it's not just the good, it's also the fucking bullshit and the pain and the suffering and the fucking trauma. That shit's getting externalized too. I mean, there's not like only this, until you become consciously aware of what's going on, it just keeps happening. So it's like if you're constantly telling yourself like worst case scenarios in fear, unconsciously it tends to manifest, because what you fear has that strong energy attached to it then too. And like you're forgetting who you are in Christ, you're living in separation, and then you're disregarding like infinite intelligence, the quantum field, God, infinite, whatever label you put on to our Creator. It's I don't think that that God gets hung up on these labels and words, because what does God care? I mean, God invented the fucking words, and everything. It's like you can't have a thought about something unless it was divinely inspired on some level. Not only that, but the concept that you think something outside of God's, like you're doing something like, that you're separate from. I don't know. I'm kind of stammering through that, but it's like I feel like a big area of a stumbling block is like constantly feeling like you're doing something wrong, you're thinking something wrong. You're constantly separating yourself from love in doing that. But like the more that you start to impress your subconscious with, no matter what happens, if there's a problem, God will provide the solution in that same instance. It's like there is no real problem. There's stuff that my old mind might consider a problem, because my old mind didn't realize that synchronicities exist, that everything's connected, that there's a divine order to things, that there's there's laws to consciousness that become externalized, and that you embody your own state. It's like you can be in a state of misery and suffering and torment, which you're doing to yourself. And if you're doing like crimes, your guilt will then draw the punishment to yourself. Yeah, it's the same shit, but like in moving forward, like looking at everything that unfolds throughout the day with more gratitude, by realizing that you don't have real problems anymore. You used to, when you were just in your slave mindset, just manifesting hell and creating more and more things to be afraid of. Yeah, then you did have problems, because you were creating the problems. But the more that you surrender those problems to God and trust that only love is real, when those same situations in the past you would respond in fear and hysteria and separateness, when you realize that you're experiencing a limiting belief, an assumption that it's time to let go of, to surrender that to God and ask, for a more empowering maybe belief or assumption or thought. You might get some of the other scripts that run in your mind of why you believe these certain limitations, these bullshit beliefs. Just let that be still, and eventually you'll run through the whys. It's like, well, because this happened, I believe this because of this, and scarcity because of this, and all these examples from my life. And it's like, oh, really? All the things that you believed ended up happening. But you're not making the connection. You can believe other things, and then those things would happen then too. And it's about getting out of that kind of logic, that kind of logic where you're believing in more and more separation, and then creating more because you believe it, and flipping the switch into realizing that everything that's happening is part of this consciousness that you're carrying. you're experiencing your beliefs, your assumptions externally. It's like, it's almost like the inner, well, it is like the inner being projected outward, you know, and it's like you can project fear and hysteria, or you can project love and peace and joy, regardless of what's going on. You know, getting more and more into this flow and these mental stories that that you're consciously telling yourself. You know, there's one thing when you're unconsciously just having these thoughts and these beliefs just on autopilot, but it's not really on autopilot. It happens fast, but it's reflecting the state, or, you know, your mindset. It just comes to you. It's just like playing the guitar. After a while, you can just strum a chord progression and not really think about it. It just happens because so much repetition has gone into it. And the thoughts that are just coming to you that just feel like they're separate from you, it's the same thing. It's just, these beliefs are just thoughts that you feel to be true, and whatever you feel to be true gets impressed to your subconscious. You know, it's like your conscious, you know, I don't want to say like there's like this middleman to it, you know, but like it's like the things that you strongly believe is what you like allow to be saturated into the subconscious, which then gets reflected. And on a lot of different levels, even in the stuff that you believe I want to say unconsciously, because that would imply that you're not aware of it, but like the stuff that you're just, that feels so normal to you, you know, could be completely foreign to other people. I mean, I like watching these videos of like I don't want to say they're uncontacted, because you can see them, but these like tribal people that like in the safaris and the fucking rainforest and shit, they're just living off grid, I guess, you know, out of the matrix on a lot of different levels, and just really in tune with nature and creation on some level. And you just like listen to their beliefs, and it's like, you know, it's like watching some Amazon tribe earlier, you know, like they just walk around the fucking jungle naked. It's like without shoes on. I mean, it's like how thick is your skin? You know, there's got to be fucking thorns and so many bugs. You know, walking around the rainforest, I would imagine the fucking mosquitoes in that situation would just be fucking almost unbearable. But like they're walking around naked like that, and it's just like, yeah, I get like I guess their mindset was like, I'm not gonna be like have shame about what I actually look like, which, yeah, that seems like an empowering belief on some level. And then the reflection, you know, is like they can walk around in the jungle and not be bothered by bugs, I guess. But like there's so many people with different beliefs, and it's like part of like this worldly mindset of like the slave mind is like, oh well, you know, we all think exactly the same on everything. It's like, what? You know, it's like, there's like a good example was during the COVID shit, you know, it's just like, oh, you know, you gotta trust the science, you know, and like everybody puts in this little box. It's like, well, so people are confusing science with truth, and truth with like illusion. You know, it's like, okay, well, there's a big problem where it's just like, okay, there's look at all these different cultures and different peoples and different tribes and groups of people, but then you have like this Western fucking illusion of like the Matrix world, where we all think the same and we all believe the same science and we all do the same shit and we all fucking shop at the same fucking superstores and eat fast food and whatever. A big chunk of people don't think like that. I don't fucking think like that, you know. So it's like, you know, when I get exposed to it, it's like, oh, you know, I don't even put very much energy or attention into it, because it just sounds silly to me. It's like, oh, that's this clown world shit, you know. But like, you know, and I feel like it's okay to have all these different beliefs, because it's like, you see how they serve, or they're disempowering, you know. And the ones that serve, you know, it's like, that's one thing, but it's the disempowering ones that just create more and more drama and just disharmony and just fucking problems. Those are the ones that really need to examine, and it's only ever now that you examine them. So it's like, you're either kind of like dialed into this, or you're kind of just in imagination, and I wouldn't say in imagination, but just in thought, and just identifying with your just thoughts, instead of realizing that you are not the thoughts. You're the one observing the thoughts. You can choose whether or not you believe the thoughts. You can see how you're reacting or not. You know, you can feel how they feel, if they have an emotional energy attached to them. You know, whatever's. You know, but like you know, moving into a direction where you're kind of empowering your allowing empowering thoughts to, hit your subconscious. Why not do that? Because the alternative is to allow disempowering thoughts to, saturate your subconscious, which then have a disempowering fucking reality attached to them. You want to keep doing that, but it's more about, in the face of what's already manifested, which is your past beliefs and assumptions, always, that have happened. So it's like, when the opposite's happening, you can get carried away with it, or you can just realize this is part of the bridge of incidents where none of this shit matters. It's going to be all work out. And that's kind of like, with the guy, was working for me quitting, I found like a tremendous amount of just relief. I didn't realize how much mental energy and fucking drama I was like kind of just dealing with, because it just has been this momentum of, since spring, of just boom, getting this job done, boom, boom, just one thing after another, paint a house, renovate a bathroom, put a new floor in, do, one thing after another, and like, now it's just like, fucking relief, it's just like, oh, it feels like I'm on vacation or something, and like, and looking at everything that's like, I don't need to worry about it, everything's going to work out, it'll all be fine. I don't know how it's going to happen, but God's going to make it happen in like the perfect way that I can't even imagine. And letting those kind of thoughts saturate the subconscious, and then as like the day progresses, it's only ever now, it's kind of always kind of in the present moment, being aware of like, oh, what's the synchronicity, what's the good, what's the what's the true, what's the beautiful, what's going on right here and now, that's awesome, what's going on that's working out, kind of like having I would say a patient, but like almost excited, like now what, because all these things start getting added to you. The more that you're like kind of change your consciousness and aren't just reacting and being hysterical and just anxiety, fear, the more that you're open to just like looking for heavenly things, looking for these like synchronistic things that just like pop out. They're just like, oh, that's fucking awesome. It's like, just like, you just want to share that with other people, because it's like, it's for everybody to do this, so it's like you can do or have literally anything. All you have to do is just embody the fact that you are blessed right here, right now. Anything that tells you different than that is something to be let go of, because it's not true. I mean, it's an illusion, but you can keep believing it. You can keep believing that you're cursed, and then because there's really only two states. There's cursed and blessed, and it's like scarcity, abundance. This is this binary. It's like you're either embodying being blessed right now and everything that comes with that, or you're embodying being cursed and then everything that comes with it. The difference between the two, between cursed and blessed, is just a mental decision. It's just I'm going to ask God to help me figure it out. It's like, because it's connected with consciousness, and it's because the idea that you're separate from consciousness and separate from your desires creates this fucking unease, and this creates this constantly just cravings and desirings for this like wholeness, looking for these external means to feel whole. Oh, it's like, oh, I need to have $1 billion before I can feel a certain way. It's like, really, it's like, you can't just feel like blessed with now, and as you are embodying it, then the more and more that reflects in your life, and less fear and hysteria that you're living in. Because just because you have like lots of money doesn't mean that you aren't spending the present moment just with another fucking drama, with another problem, some fucking busy work that you're doing, like masquerading as like accomplishment, masquerading as like getting shit done by just doing a bunch of bullshit that doesn't matter. Oh, I'm gonna spend half a day fucking dealing with this email. It's like, really? What is that fucking, what are you doing? It's like, is that there's really accomplishing something, or you're just spinning your wheels because you're just clinking around? It's like, getting more and more into what could, I don't have to do anything. It's like God that does it. It's like part of like, oh, I gotta force it to to happen. That's part of like the old way of thinking. you know, as you start to let go of that and realize that, you know, that the quantum field, that everything that you're desiring already has a physical manifestation, that you are already whole and complete and blessed, and God's with you and not against you, and like with God all things are possible, and how things are going to unfold is based on how much you're letting go of like these spells and these illusions, and just trusting that God's going to just figure, you know, has already figured it out. You know, it's like you're perfectly where you need to be. You haven't fucked it up, you know. That's the other thing. It's like living in the past. Well, if I woulda, coulda, shoulda, then I could have been in a better position now. It's like you're perfectly where you need to be. You know, cut the shit where you're thinking that you fuck something up. He's like, you can't fuck anything up that isn't there for you to do anyway. So, you know, let the shit go. It's like, yeah, okay, maybe you hurt people, maybe you know, you were being a prick or an asshole, whatever. Congratulations, you know, we've all done it. You know, so the only difference, you know, how long are you going to let that fester in your consciousness, for one, and then, you know, how long are you going to stay in an undesirable state that you're just suffering. You know, a lot of times, you know, it's just, you know, forgive the person, forgive the situation, forgive yourself, you know, and, you know, moving forward, that's not who I'm going to be anymore. And voila, you're done. You know, then you start already by making that conscious choice. Now you're going into a new state that's more ideal, you know, and it feels better, you know, the more that you're not suffering and in states of hell, you know. But like that's for you to figure out. You know, some people just kind of keep doubling down on it, you know. Well, next time it'll work if I just do more of it. You know, but it is what it is. But like yeah, I just want to get on here and kind of, you know, share that kind of stuff with you guys, just add something positive to your mental diet if you wanted to vibe in this kind of state for a while. But like yeah, I think I'm gonna go. I gotta burn a bunch of shit. I got like 6 doors I need to burn, and like a bunch of cardboard, and you know, it's amazing how much crap starting to accumulate. You know, I already got like I got all these chicken. I got 7 egg chickens now. One of them got eaten by something. You know, I got 4 other chickens in the other pen, and 3 turkeys in town, you know, surrounded by, you know, my neighbors. You know, it's like a trailer park, you know, but like luckily, I feel like it's luckily, you know, it's like a lot of them are like Spanish or Mexican. I don't know. They speak Spanish, you know, so it's like I'm assuming Mexican, but there's a real language barrier, and they kind of keep to themselves. You know, I've always, you know, for years, you know, there's been a bunch of Mexican people that like live around me and stuff, and you know, always keep to themselves. It seems like they work a lot, you know. I like them. I mean, like they, you know, but you know, I like neighbors that kind of keep to themselves and aren't fucking just creating a bunch of drama and shit. But like, yeah, you know, but like yesterday I had a lady come over to my house who didn't speak any English, you know, and we figured it out though that she wanted 2 dozen eggs. You know, so I'm trying to, like, you know, with the chickens and everything, not be like fucking, you know, bothering the neighbors with it, you know, because, but I think a lot of them wouldn't call the cops anyway, just because I don't know if they're even, I don't think they want that fucking drama, you know. And like but like yeah, she wanted some eggs, and I'm like sitting there. It's been a long time since I took Spanish in high school, and it's like, uno, dos, you know, how many eggs you want, you know. It's like I gave her a dozen, and it's like it's like I brought the whole thing, and it's like, tell me when. You know. But regardless, I gotta get that stuff cleaned up so like the neighbors, you know, create a good vibe for the neighborhood or whatever. But you know, thanks for listening, everybody. I appreciate your support, your spiritual support, and your financial support. I appreciate you guys liking, sharing, subscribing, all the social networking things. And until the next now, God bless.